let's talk about it because there were really serious allegations. And, it's unfortunate. One of the things that I thought was really unfortunate in this particular matter is one, traditionally in domestic violence cases or matters, the person who is abused, the victim, is not typically identified. But because these are people who are famous, the victim is not an active, but a WNBA player. People know who she is. And so that's Kaiser Gondrasak. And so her name already is out there. And, she doesn't even get the opportunity to really kind of deal with this privately because her name is already published. So that's first of all. I want people to understand the gravity of the allegations, strangulation, assault. Based on the reports, the attack started while she was in her sleep. Okay. She was punched multiple times in her face, had an awful bruise cut above her eyebrow, allegedly. She was bloodied. She was strangled. She had to run out of the hotel room. And hotel employees found her, and they're the ones that called the police, and that's how she ended up going to the hospital. So he was arrested. Kevin Porter Jr. was arrested. And also one of the things when charging him and coming up with what his bail would be, the assistant district attorney took into account that he has some history of violence against her. Apparently in the past, he's crashed his car into hers. So I just want people to understand some of the things that are alleged. There is a police report. There is a medical report. And in fact, her sister got on Instagram to call out Kevin Porter Jr. So I just kind of want to set the scene for what this is, because I'm going to tell you, this is not one of those cases where I'm really going to do the alleged and if true. All right. I want to talk about the seriousness of this and, how the NBA and other leagues need to start handling matters like this. So Chris Williamson, thank you for joining us to talk about this with me and Terrika. It's a really serious issue. And I know for me, I feel like when it comes to stuff like this, women are always talking about it. We're always voicing our opinions. We're always speaking out. And sometimes we feel a little disheartened that our male counterparts aren't always as loud. But you've been talking about this. You've always, from everything that I've seen, been an ally of women. And so I would like to know your initial thoughts when you first heard this story, and how do you think the league should handle this?
Yeah, so number one, I was disgusted and horrified by the allegations and what Kevin Porter Jr. did to Kaiser Gondrazak, because what type of coward chokes their girlfriend, bloody, and reportedly has a broken vertebrae, right, in her neck because she locked you out of the hotel? It's just sickening to me, and I get so riled up because I understand, how disrespected and mistreated Black women have, had to deal with or have been in the society for centuries, let alone women, but particularly Black women. And it just speaks to the culture of misogyny and sexism that we have, not only in sports where it's rampant, but also in general, right? Sports are a microcosm of society. So yeah, it's completely heartless what he did, what he's alleged to do, all that. And he should never play another game in the NBA. And then as far as the league investigation, what they should do, okay, yeah, the logical or strategic thing is to, have your own investigation and then wait until the trial, is finished or whatever. But there's information out there already that should let you know, okay, something clearly awful happened where he could have killed her.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to delay the inevitable, which is cut him from the NBA, and that's it. Because I know the Rockets cannot do that per the CBA right now, but the NBA has the power to do so. And it also tells me, like, are y'all really serious about domestic violence? in terms of, having a hardcore policy against it or zero tolerance policy. But yeah, boils my blood so much because people do not use their words to express their disappointment or their frustration with a partner. It's got to use the hands. And it's, yeah.
Terrika.
There's so much to unpack here from so many different levels. Number one, I am appalled at the nerve of Kevin Porter Jr. He's a coward without a shadow of a doubt. But the audacity to feel like the way that you can handle whatever anger that you may have had by physically putting your hands on somebody, the audacity of you, right? So there's that. And I'm not going to use the words allegedly because I read an article yesterday from Baller Alert that apparently her representation said that she didn't physically say that specific things happened and that she didn't grant the release of her medical records. So things that are being said are coming from parties who may have had information, but it didn't come directly from her, right? And I read that as, you're not saying that it didn't happen. You're saying you just didn't say it. Cool.
Right.
We can play the politics. Cool. I understand the legal semantics. You don't want to screw up any, prosecutorial events or evidence or things that could be stacked against the case if that's the route you choose to take. So I get the semantics and all of the legal jargon that goes along with it. But let's call a spade a spade. Even the thought that someone could say that this happened, it didn't come from anywhere. Didn't come from out the clear blue, right? You don't just randomly wake up one day and say, hey, Chris Williamson, we're going to say that you're an abuser. No, it comes from something, comes from somewhere, right? So the nerve and audacity of him is one thing. Secondly, the way that our culture has made this type of behavior okay is sickening. I am so sick of seeing tweets and messages and people who are, suggesting that this could be made up, who are suggesting that Kevin Porter Jr. is not wrong, who's suggesting that he should still be in the league because he's beneficial to the Houston Rockets in whatever way. It's very similar to the conversation we were just having about racism in Addison's DMs. Where is the human empathy? Where does that come from, right? Like, how is that missed among so many different fans in this game that you'd rather care about your sports team than care about the fact that someone could have very well taken the life of this young woman? Where are the superficiality coming from people who are continually saying, I can't believe he would hit her. She's so pretty.
Right.
What the hell does her look have to do with anything?
It is so ridiculous
about how pretty she is or she isn't. That's not the point. There are so many different layers. And I think the other thing that really bugs me is how the sports world have really given many mixed messages on how they take domestic violence. And that is what bugs me the most. I have to obviously bring up Ray Rice because he is someone to me who I think, and this is my personal opinion, obviously, but he is someone who I think was genuinely contrite about what happened, how it happened, why it happened, and took steps more than just I'm giving you money, more than just I'm serving this suspension, but physically took the steps, joined the programs, started the foundations, took the time to reach out to young men and boys, and became public with his wife, who was his fiance at the time when that incident happened. And he was someone who I look at as an example of how you can make a mistake, learn from it, and then literally try to do your best to correct it. Own it, take accountability, and do your best to correct it. Too often, we have seen owners, general managers, and people in the front offices who have not allowed these young men and women, because it happens in the women's game too, Take accountability for these things. They figure the money will help them get out of it. How well they play will help them get out of it. If a person doesn't show up for court on a technicality, I'll get out of it and everything is good. These leagues have to begin to make a statement. I've seen it with Dallas. I've seen it with the Dallas Cowboys organization, where players have been accused of domestic violence and Jerry Jones will reach in his pocket and make something happen. And the next thing you know, they're back on the fields. I've seen, we've seen it. I saw it happen with Greg. What's his name? Greg Hardy. Greg, you know what I'm talking about? I think it's Greg Hardy.
Defensive player.
So we physically have seen this happen before. Players cannot learn. They will not learn the seriousness of their action without the legal systems doing their jobs and owners and front offices holding them accountable for what they're doing. Until we see that, we're going to continue to see players get away with the crap that we're seeing them get away with right now.
Oh, you preach the whole gospel, and there's just so much I want to respond to and say, but like one is that whole she looks good, just men sort of basing their respect, how they treat women based on if they like them, their attractiveness, or like their proximity to them. It's like, if you're a mother, daughter, sister, like I can protect you. But if you're not, if you look good, if you like, this is crazy to me. You know, it to me, you should just be against it. And this always wanting to know, well, what happened? What did the person do? There is nothing that she could have done to deserve to have a broken bone in her vertebrae. Okay. And I tweeted this. We don't know what would have happened if she didn't escape and run out that room and wasn't found. We might be talking about a different thing, and we might be talking about different charges, right? And so this has to be taken so very seriously. And when you talked about the humanity, like, this is why I just am so frustrated by the Houston Rockets now at this point, trying to salvage this in some way to get something back by trying to trade him. No, you just have to eat that loss, because first of all, there were questions around him to begin with, and you still traded for him. So you knew that. That's why his contract right now is only guaranteed for 1 year, even though he's talented and there's more years. The rest is all, not guaranteed. That is what you considered when you did this. So you eat the loss for this year because you took that, and that's why you gave him that contract you did. It's like they want to salvage it. They want to try to get what is wrong? And you're talking about the Houston Rockets aren't, not that this would change anything, but the Houston Rockets aren't expected to be some competitive team this year. This is about money, and you're rich. Yeah. This money is not hurting you, and so there's just no humanity in that. And it frustrates me, and then we can just look at Miles Bridges. You're bringing up all these other cases and talking about the NFL. Look at Miles Bridges, who is right in the NBA. Okay. And he was suspended for 30 games, for 20 of which the NBA already considered serve, which is bizarre to me. So really, he's only going to come back this season and miss 10 games. And I just want to make clear that he beat up his partner pretty badly as well. Okay. Now, she's removed the Instagram posts that she had about it, but it was detailed. There were pictures of her, and it was awful. But yet he was given a second chance. And I say shame on the NBA and shame on the Charlotte Hornets. I believe in contrition. I do. But I do not believe that you should get your job back in any sports league for violence like this against women. There are some things that you should not get the privilege of getting back when you commit this kind of action. Chris, I'm sorry. I know that I went on, but this is really topic. I'm passionate about it.
No, that's why I let y'all have the floor. You know what I'm saying? I never want to interject or step in. Feel like people's voices not heard. But yeah, everything you said is straight up facts. Like, it's disgusting, what the Hornets did, what the league did in terms of the suspension. But I just want to go back to that thing about, when you look at how people bring up, or men bring up, I have a daughter, I have a wife. If you didn't have a daughter, if you weren't, married to your wife, like, would it matter? Like, it should be, like you said, it should just be you're against it, period. No man,
Because we're
no
human
partner should be
beings.
putting their, exactly. No partner should be putting their hands on their partner, period, point blank. It doesn't matter, you know, if you have a daughter, if your wife, like, it doesn't matter how attracted you are. Like, you can not be attracted to a whole bunch of people, but they still deserve the humanity, be treated like an individual who has some dignity and has some worth. And the whole privilege thing, yeah, I really, really do not like when you have sports leagues that give these players second chances, because I feel like it only enables them. Like, that is a privilege. You have millions of people who want to be in your spot, and you decide to do some coward stuff, whether it's beating up your girlfriend, beating up your boyfriend, or whatever, and you think you're going to stay in the league? You think you're going to stay in the league? No. I that's not something that I would, you know, promote in terms of, yeah, we'll give you a second chance. Like, yeah, you're not going to be ostracized from society, but you don't have the right to play in the NBA or the WNBA and the NFL. That's gone. Okay. Yeah, we all make mistakes, but there are consequences. And we're hoping that those consequences, or we're hoping those mistakes do not happen. And Terrika, you brought up the great point. Like, Ray Rice, he did a phenomenal job in terms of showing contrition. And he did the work, never played it down NFL again, but he did reverse his course and reverse his actions in terms of how he goes about his life. And I'm glad that he did that. But no, you don't need to be in the league anymore.
Same.
Right. It shouldn't have to be something as egregious as this, because I don't think he is going to return. But this is also because he's had a few chances. But it shouldn't take something like this. We know the NBA's record right now on this is not good. It's not. So we're going to see what they'll do. We're going to see what they'll do. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Honestly, we could have talked about this the whole hour. I feel like it's worthy of that kind of discussion. I'm sure we'll be talking about it more, but thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. All right, thank you. Appreciate it. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye, Chris.
All right, see ya. Have a good one.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.